So, just as I had finished my Mortal Kombat Q&A, I kind of decided my curiosity was kind of piqued, and I decided to search for any news on a third Kombat Pack, which apparently there was only one tweet from Ed Boon saying, "So, who's ready for Kombat Pack 3, or who should be in something to that degree." Now, first things first, guys. First things first. Ed Boon is notorious for making stuff up. He's notorious for really baiting the fans, even though, if anything, you gotta love more, the guys at NetherRealm Studios. These guys are true fans of their craft, and the bloodier the better, and they know it, and they really give the fans what they want most of the time. Keyword most of the time. And even with the guest characters, if you're a fan of these if you're a fan of these guest characters, they treat them with utmost respect. Like even the smallest detail to that character, such as when Leatherface wins, not do a fatality, but win, he does the whole swing the chainsaw around just like he did at the end of the first movie. But getting back to the whole thing of a combat pack. The thing is that, again, Ed Boon could easily be teasing us, and that could easily be the case because, well, there was only one tweet, and there hasn't really stuff after that since. So, then again, we do have the whole thing that, you remember how long it took for Kombat Pack 2 to come out? Remember how long that took? But again, you gotta play devil's advocate here and be like, well, we're already getting Kombat Pack, we're already getting Mortal Kombat XL, which will be the, it'll feature all 9 guest DLC characters, including Goro because he was pre-order. But yeah, that's the thing. You got all that, and you also got all the combat skins as well for Mortal Kombat XL. And when you bring out the bigger video game edition of a game, that usually means no more DLC most of the time. So that's kind of the thing is, whenever they bring those out, it usually means no more DLC, but maybe they'll sneak one out right before XL. Well, I think XL's already out, actually, now that I think about it. Maybe, I don't know, I can't remember the exact release date, but maybe they'll sneak one more out to, get some extra dough in and, feature some more characters. So that could, it could easily be a number of things, but let's talk about the possibility of a third combat pack. And that being, the, where was I going with this? Shit, I lost my train of thought. Oh yeah, let's talk about the characters. I think there's going to be a 4-limit character thing. 2 guest characters and 2 main characters. Sorry for that. My train of thought just derailed. But yeah, it's usually 2 MK characters and 2 guest characters, and that's what it looks like from this point on. First time around we had, for MK characters, we had Tanya and Tremor, and then we also had Jason and Predator, and then, newest Kombat Pack, we had Alien and Leatherface with Bo' Rai Cho and Triborg. The new character who, I think it's a cool idea for Triborg, really, because it's a new character, but yet it still feels like an old classic character, because it does mix all 3 characters, so if you can play as all 3 characters in one. You can play as Sector in one variation, Cyrax in another, and Smoke in another. So I think that's a really genius idea. And the same with the Baraka morph, the Xenomorph, the Tarkatan Xenomorph, because I think it's a really cool fusion of MK merging with all these these guest characters. They show up in this game, and the Baraka morph is a perfect fusion of how these characters are integrating. It's a nice little hand-in-hand kind of thing. Now, the big question is, who do you get, really? Because, we asked for Frost and Sindel and Noob Saibot and Rain and all these other characters, and we got Cyrax, we got Triborg, a new character, and Bo' Rai Cho. Was anybody asking for Bo' Rai Cho? Really? Bo' Rai Cho. Because I feel like someone was like, yeah, I want that character that nobody wants. Yeah. I mean, I hate to say it, guys, but he was just not good to play with. Triborg, Xenomorph, Leatherface, all of them pretty good, so 3 out of 4 ain't that bad. But yeah, so the big question is, what characters could you get to, for Mortal Kombat, first and foremost? I've talked about a lot of characters that I'd like to see on the Mortal Kombat side show up in the Kombat Pack, if we do get a third Kombat Pack at all. And the two, and I've talked about a lot in the Q&A I just did, and I did some thinking about it, and yeah, the two I really sat down and thought, okay, which 2 characters realistically would I love to see in the next Kombat Pack in terms of Mortal Kombat characters? And the 2 I really thought about I'd love to see are Noob Saibot and Sindel. Those are the 2 right there. Noob Saibot and Sindel are the 2 characters that I would absolutely love to have in the next Mortal Kombat, in terms of Mortal Kombat characters. So yeah, Noob Saibot and Sindel for me for Mortal Kombat characters. In terms of guest characters, now you guys know me, I love crossovers, and I've been loving what they've been doing with the guest characters. First we got Jason, then we got Predator, and I already talked about how I feel about the guest, my rankings for the guest characters. So far, believe it or not, it was the wild card that's been my favorite guest character to play as, and that's Leatherface. The character I went, really? Leatherface? That guy? But, like I said in the Q&A, the reason why, Leatherface has a lot of meaning behind him is because, yeah, he doesn't make sense for this game, but he was put in there because apparently Ed Boon was close with the actor, the original actor of Leatherface, Gunnar Hansen, who passed away last year, and this is, Ed Boon giving, more or less honoring his memory by having his, Leatherface take a chainsaw at a scorpion's face. So, yeah. And again, they did so well with that character. He's probably got one of the longest reaches in the game. He's got one of the most vicious brutalities. The hammer brutality, oh my god, it's hard to watch. And some really kick-ass fatalities. And again, the Xenomorph was pretty cool, and yeah. So, I feel like, if you're gonna, since we're going with the whole horror element, because Ed Boon's talked about how he'd love to do like a horror video, horror fighting game with blood and guts everywhere. The 2, I'm going to stick with horror characters, even though, I'd love to see other characters from other from maybe other video games or, a movie, an anime or cartoon or something of that nature. It's probably never going to happen unless, Nickelodeon, because they really need the money because they're suffering. How cool would it be to see like Azula from Avatar: The Last Airbender just like punch a hole through Melina's chest and just set her on fire from the inside out, or Korra throwing down with Sub-Zero. I know that'll never fucking happen. That'll never fucking happen. And we still got Spawn. People are still asking for Spawn ever since Todd McFarlane ever said Ed Boon could use Spawn in the video game. Just because he said it doesn't mean it's going to happen. But keep in mind that it could still happen. I mean, it's not, Spawn's been in video games before. Hell, he was in Soul Calibur 2. So, it's still in the possibility. But getting back to the horror characters, the 2 I think would be really cool would be, again, Pinhead, first and foremost. Get Doug Bradley to come back and reprise his role voice-wise for Pinhead. So get him, because I want a guest character that can talk back. As much as I love the guest characters, I'm just kind of like, can we just get a character who can talk back to them rather than just go or hiss or just look at them? So I think that would be cool if you get Doug Bradley, because apparently there's going to be a new Hellraiser movie without Douglas Bradley, and I think would be cool would be either get that actor, but I'd stick with the original first and foremost. So yeah, but yeah, with Pinhead, that's been a character I've wanted in terms of horror characters to be the number 1 right there. So that's kind of a given as is. But the other horror character I would love to see is Pumpkinhead. Yeah, Pumpkinhead from the Pumpkinhead films. And people are going to say, well, that character's going to look a lot like the Xenomorph, and yes, I understand. That could easily be the case. So, there's other horror-type characters I would love to see. I know, Ash, I've talked about how, it would be cool. Don't get me wrong. I've said multiple times how cool Ash from Evil Dead would be so awesome to see in Mortal Kombat, but you gotta understand, he has the likeness of Bruce Campbell, and likenesses cost a lot of fucking money. So, they would have to first get Bruce Campbell's consent to use his likeness in a video game. He doesn't own the character, but that is his face, and they would also probably have to get him to voice the character. So, yeah, that would also cost probably, I would imagine that would cost a lot of money. And, yeah, he's kind of busy doing Evil Dead, Ash vs. the Evil Dead, so... Yeah, as much as I'd love to see it, I don't know if could it be a possibility? Yeah, could they do that? I mean, they got Warner Brothers backing them in terms of funding, but yeah. So I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm just saying it's difficult. That's all I'm saying for seeing Ash in a video game is that it's not impossible, but it's just really, really freaking difficult to do so. What else did I want to say? For this game, like in terms of other horror-type characters. Love to see Candyman, but again, you do run into, you gotta use Tony Todd's likeness, as well as, you probably have to get him voiced. But Tony Todd's done video games before, so I think it may be, and so is Bruce Campbell, but yeah, it might be a little difficult. So yeah. There is another that I'd like to see, but I doubt, like, this one, it might be difficult, but not in the sense of, how do you fight this character, and that's the Leprechaun. Because the Leprechaun would just, like, it's the same thing with the problem with Yoda in the Soul Calibur games. Remember when Vader, Yoda, and Starkiller were in Soul Calibur 4, and how difficult it was to hit Yoda? Like, that'd be the same thing with the Leprechaun. I think it'd be pretty easy to get Warwick Davis to, play this character, to voice this character, because he loves it, first and foremost, and he loves being that character whenever he can, and he's done video games before, so I think it'd be pretty easy to get him, and he doesn't really have... The Leprechaun is hidden under makeup, so you wouldn't have to get his consent to use his likeness. You would just have to get consent from whatever studio owns the Leprechaun, and, go from there. So the Leprechaun would be cool. It'd just be really hard to punch him. That's the problem, is that he'd be a fun character to play as, because he's so... It's like Leatherface. He's so fucking out there that you just see this little Leprechaun just come prancing in, and he's like, "Oh, top of the morning to ya, you little bitch," or something of that nature. And yeah, but I guess, like, in terms of other characters, in horror-themed characters, like Herbert West from Reanimator would be interesting. Ghostface would be another. Michael, actually, now that I think about it, Michael would probably be the next logical step for, in terms of horror characters, and I'm kicking myself for not thinking of that right away. So, yeah, Pinhead, Michael Myers, there you go. And Michael's the original OC slasher. Well, Norman Bates is, but in terms of mass killers, that goes to Michael. So, yeah, Norman Bates is the grandfather, the great-grandfather. Michael is the grandfather. So yeah, Michael, and here's the best part. So far, the rights to Halloween are out in the air. John Carpenter doesn't own them. I think Miramax had them. I can't remember what. I think it was Miramax. No, I can't even remember the studio. But yeah, the studio that once owned the rights to Halloween, they no longer own those rights. So the rights to Halloween are up in the air. So Ed Boon can easily just go, yoink, and use that character. You wouldn't have to pay for any likenesses, but it does kind of run into, well, we don't get another talking guest character. But I'd be actually okay with that. So, as long as we get Pinhead. So, Pinhead and Michael Myers would be my two guest characters. Because, again, I would love to do, like, maybe see Azula. That's my far-fetched one. That's, like, my far, that will never frickin' happen. But she makes so much sense, because she looks like a Mortal Kombat character. She's killed people. Well, she's attempted to kill people, and she has the intention to kill people. She's downright dangerous, and her moveset moves like a Mortal Kombat character. So, she makes sense, but we'll never see her, and I'm fully aware of that. It's just me being a bit of an Avatar fanboy, because God knows Avatar, Nickelodeon don't give a shit about him anymore. So, yeah. So there you go, guys. For Mortal Kombat characters, Sindel and Noob Saibot, and for guest characters, Pinhead and Michael Myers. But you guys tell me, if we do get another, if it's possible at all, and we do get a third Kombat Pack, if it's officially confirmed, because again, like I said earlier in this video, Ed Boon can easily just be, pulling our chain on this one. He may just be, taunting us for, his own sick pleasure, but, excuse me, if at all possible, and we do get a third Kombat Pack, what are 2 Mortal Kombat characters and 2 guest characters you would love to see in the third and possibly final Kombat Pack? Just comment below, let me know, and once again, hope you all enjoyed this, and I will see you guys later.